When portable gas-powered generators first came on the scene decades ago, even the best brands were loud, heavy, inefficient, and expensive. And I know because I owned one. But fast forward to today, and it's amazing how much quieter, lighter in weight, efficient, and less expensive the best portable generators have become. There certainly has been a steady improvement in design and manufacturing, and so-called inverter generators are the most obvious case in point, as you'll see in this video. If you're looking for a generator experience with less noise, less weight, and less fuel burned for a given electrical output, inverters are definitely worth considering. Inverter generators work on a somewhat different principle than conventional models. Instead of outputting alternating current, that's AC, directly as the engine spins an internal alternator, inverter generators make AC first, but then they convert it to DC internally and electronically, then back to AC. This three-step approach offers two advantages. First, the electric power produced is cleaner than AC power from ordinary generators. You don't need to worry about dirty electricity harming your most sensitive electronics if you're connected to an inverter. The purity of power put out by an inverter is at least as clean as what comes out of your wall outlet. The second advantage is lower fuel consumption and, in most cases, reduced noise levels too. While the engine on a conventional generator runs at full speed all the time, no matter how little electric power is being demanded, inverters can automatically vary their own engine speed depending on the amount of electricity you're asking it for. Whenever you're demanding less than a particular inverter can produce, the engine speed slows down proportionally. And even when running full blast, many inverters are still much quieter than conventional generators of the same size, but this noise output is reduced even more when the unit throttles itself back when delivering partial output. Look for the decibel rating, that's dB, on any model you're considering to get a sense of the noise levels. Sound in the 45 to 55 dB range is considered ultra quiet, and it's easy to have a conversation around. 55 to 60 is still considered quiet, and 60 to 70 dB is still quieter than the average conventional generator. Now, another bonus is less wear and tear on the motor, as it operates more slowly when full power is not required. So like I said, inverters are the most refined of all gas-powered generators, but there are other things to consider besides refinement when deciding if an inverter is for you. But before I get into those details, if you're finding this video useful, like, subscribe to the channel, hit the notifications bell. You'll be doing yourself a favor because I cover all kinds of stuff like this. Not just generators, power tools, home building, construction, rural living, self-reliance, all that stuff. My channel's been around since 2008, so there's a ton of content on there. And my website, baileylineroad.com, I've got more than 2,000 articles and videos there. And I've also got a VIP program for extra connections, extra fresh content. So see you there. What size makes sense? When it comes to all types of generators, electrical output is measured in watts. And there are two wattage figures you need to pay attention to when selecting a model. One number you'll see is what's called running watts. And this refers to the maximum wattage that the generator can put out continuously without the breaker tripping on the machine. The other figure is starting watts, and it's usually the more prominent number you'll see on packaging. Starting watts refers to the maximum short-term surge of current that the generator can put out beyond running watts for about 3 to 5 seconds. And why the difference between running and starting watts? Well, it has to do with electrical items that have what's called an inductive load. The most common source of inductive loads comes from items that have electric motors. So this would include fridges, freezers, water pumps, sump pumps, and other items. An electric water well pump, for instance, that normally draws maybe 800 watts while running, could easily require 2,000 to 3,000 watts for the first few seconds after it turns on. The surge capacity of any generator allows momentary high demands to be handled without overloading the system and triggering the breaker on the generator. And all this naturally leads to an important question. How many watts do you need? While you could look at each device that you want to power at the same time, note the wattage required to run them individually, then add the numbers up. An easier approach is to use an online calculator, of course. If you go to generatorselector.com, you'll find a questionnaire about your intended generator use and the size of the model you'll need to cover that. This includes surge demands for those items that have them. It's all worked into the calculator, but there's something else to consider too: voltage output. All gas power generators put out at least 120 volts AC, providing the power via the usual wall-style outlets that you have in your home. Larger generators also offer 240 volts in addition to 120 for larger items such as a stove, a dryer, most water well pumps, a welder, and more. So if you plan to connect your inverter to the electrical panel of your house, perhaps using a manual transfer switch to make the connection safe and legal, then you'll need a model large enough to provide 240 volts, as well as the 120. Same is true if you want to power a stove, dryer, water pump, or any other item that needs 240 volts, even if you don't intend to make the connection through your household electrical panel. The transition zone between 120 only and 120 volts to 40 volt inverters is typically around the 6,500 watt size. Generators weigh much less than they used to for a given size of output, and this is especially true with the latest version of inverters. One of the lightest weight models is this one here. It's a 4,000 watt unit that weighs just under 52 pounds. That's only slightly heavier than many high-end inverters that put out roughly half the power. And this 4,000 watt model here also crosses an important threshold of functionality. Unlike most units of this weight, it can power the air conditioning system on an RV. Not many inverters this light can do that. Providing power for RVs while camping is one of the main uses for inverters because of their quiet operation, but there's something else to consider while shopping if you've got an RV. Dual fuel models. The ability to operate on more than one fuel is a feature you'll find on leading-edge generators, including conventional models, and in a growing number of cases, inverters too. This typically means the ability to run on gasoline as well as propane. Some generators have a tri-fuel design and can also use natural gas. Dual fuel capabilities are useful since it means more flexible operation. So let's say you're camping and you run out of gasoline. You probably have a tank or two, a 20-pound tank of propane, and that could be easily connected to a dual fuel model to get you up and running without having to leave the campsite. Propane does have a somewhat lower energy density than gasoline, so you can expect correspondingly less power output when operating on propane, and that's about 8 to 10% less, so not a huge amount. On the plus side though, propane never goes bad during long-term storage as gasoline does. Leading edge features. There are two advancements beyond what I've explained so far that you need to understand when it comes to inverters: interconnectability and carbon monoxide monitoring. Interconnectability is something that only inverters can do. Unlike regular generators, two identical inverters can sometimes be connected with something called a parallel cable. This runs from one inverter to another, doubling the total power output provided. If you'd rather handle the light weight of two 4,000 watt inverters rather than one 8,000 watt model, interconnected inverters are definitely the way to go. Not only does this mean handling less weight in a given carrying session, but when you don't need maximum power, you can run only one inverter at a time, save fuel and reduce your noise output. Carbon monoxide, that's abbreviated CO, is a potentially lethal combustion byproduct found in the exhaust of all fuel-burning engines. This is true of both inverters and traditional generators. Models with a CO monitoring system automatically shut down the engine if carbon monoxide is detected in high enough concentrations in the surrounding area. This won't happen if you use your inverter outdoors, but the CO monitoring and shutoff feature offers an additional layer of safety. Maintaining your inverter. Now, all gas-powered generators require maintenance, and this applies to inverters as well. The main job is changing the engine oil, and there are two things you need to understand about this work. First, it's always wise to change engine oil after about 5 hours of runtime when you're operating a new inverter or generator for the first time, because parts are wearing in with each other and potentially putting more metal filings into the oil. After that, just follow the manufacturer's recommendations on how many hours of runtime engine oil is good for. Now, not all inverters have an hour meter to keep elapsed runtime in mind, so you may need to just keep track of that on your own. But then there's something else to consider too. Many generators sit unused or little used for long periods of time, and in cases like this, you should change oil based on the time in the engine, not the runtime. Change oil every year on inverters that are not used often enough to get running hours up to the point where the oil is running out of life. Also, it's wise to keep a fresh supply of engine oil on hand for periods of extended grid outage when your inverter will probably be running a lot. Oil should be changed after every 100 hours of continuous use. That sounds like a lot, but this is only 4 days or so. Outages can last longer than this, and you probably won't be able to buy more oil if an extended outage occurs. But with a supply of new engine oil on hand, you can change it as needed and keep running your inverter while treating the engine with the care and respect it deserves. Now, do inverters have a drawback? Well, nothing technical, but they are somewhat more expensive than an equivalent size of conventional generator. But put in a historical perspective, today's inverters are still a big bargain. When I bought my first generator in 1988, believe it or not, it cost just under $8,000 in today's money. And that was for a leading 3,500 watt model that was still loud, very heavy, burned tons of gas, and produced power dirty enough to damage electronics. Today you can get a 3,500 watt inverter for about $1,250, or roughly only 16% of what I paid back in the day, and get a much better machine for that money. Inverter generators are not for every application, but they certainly do have their place. So if you're looking for quiet operation, pure power, and the most refined experience, inverters were made for you. So I hope you found this video useful. That's really why I make them. If you like what you've seen, subscribe, hit the notifications bell. Got any questions? Leave them in the comments. I monitor that every day. And thank you for watching.